Well, what are you doing here?
I'm just north of Mexico. 2 streets north of Mexico.
Our program at the Merrick School of Business will explore this human-AI partnership in order to better understand AI and the impacts it's going to have on organizations going forward into the future.
We all love hearing yes when we're looking for a job, asking for help, especially here. But where can we hear yes when shopping for the products we need for our home, even if our credit isn't so hot? At Aaron's, where they say yes to people that other places turn down. High approvals without great credit? Yep. Free delivery and setup? Mm-hmm. Name brand products? Of course. So say yes to Aaron's, because they love saying yes back.
I'd love to have play stuff like this. This would be ideal. I could just take that. I'm not doing anything. Everyone get out of my way. Trying to get to like the next spot. don't look like a 3.2, but it's pretty yeah, it's very unexpected. Whoa! I know that guy. Everybody. And I don't. Do y'all do like and you just walk to the 50 with them, or do you go with them? Those guys are assigned to it? Yeah. I have one guy that's like really goes out and assigns. That's a dream. Is it? Yeah. Plus, it's probably very few skirmishes. When you go to practice, pretty epic. When I was in
Check, check, check.
You remember those Fox Body Mustangs? That was a terrifying sight.
Mic check, mic check. Check, check, check. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Just make sure. I call it in sometimes because once my daughter started driving, I'm like, I haven't sped. Actually, probably haven't actually sped in 15 years. To go up, you know, so I've called in some. I was driving down, this was in Georgia, I was driving down, and this dude, involved with Georgia Patrol Service, and I was we passed an intersection, and I was kind of tailing him a little bit, just, you know, plenty of distance, but I was just kind of keeping up on him. All of a sudden, Sheriff FHP highway. bing, do all this stuff. Guy pulls over. I was like, whoa, that is satisfaction. That's a, you know, because you can hurt somebody. You know, it's good to actually. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that drives me nuts, so many people texting, driving, swerving.
Mic check 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6. Cool.
Yeah, I always fascinated, you know, towards I always thought you guys had the hardest job coming up plants that are starting to. You know, my hardest job. That always terrifies me. Like, I don't know how law enforcement does it to show up.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Mic check 1 2 3 1 2 3.
I haven't been down there in 100 years. Changed. I'm telling you, Punko Beach is really nice. They've done some weird restaurants down there. Actually, like Catholic church. Yeah, it was like all Canadians when I was a kid. I grew up in Boca, just north of there. And the place to go if you wanted to go roller skating, ice skating, and the best mechanics. Like that to your car, you can take over the rest. Get a better mechanic, travel price, get on a bump. We see that a lot. For haircut? Oh, so where in Polk County would you have been? Like, Lakeland? Sorry, I grew up in Lakeland. Any more than other cities, or that one? I feel like that one got hit a little harder. What's the next milestone, Linda? What's in Lake Wales again? Yes.
That's only 20 inches, I think. They have Weber. Well, Weber's no, that's Weber.
That's a pretty cute.
My nephew actually grabbed it. I hope not.
Oh, is it?
There were 6 tornadoes at one point that are definitely stalled out. Confirmed. These vehicles were all damaged during it. As you can see, there's another 30 vehicles back over here, but this vehicle here was out. You saw the busted glass.
It was in the route there.
So as you can see, it's mangled.
Well, good afternoon. I'm here with Kevin Guthrie from the Florida Division of Emergency Management. We obviously were tracking this storm for a while now, and as it even before it got on shore, was spinning off some of these major tornadoes. I think there was probably more tornado watches on this storm than anyone I can remember. You see a little bit of the damage here. Then, of course, down the road in the country club, what are you up to? You have 5 confirmed fatalities?
We have 5 fatalities.
So, this is really just, and it's a tragic thing because it's not like, oh, they should have evacuated. I mean, what do you do when you have a tornado? You kind of duck and cover. It happens so quickly. Those things are really, really strong and powerful. And so we're surveying some of the damage that was done on the east coast of Florida, and then now in the process of assessing some of the damage throughout the state from the storm surge on the west coast, some of the wind damage that you saw go across the Florida peninsula. As of this morning, we've had, I know the state has been involved in definitely dozens of rescues. I know our local partners are doing. We've been supportive of really everywhere around the state, including here. And we'll continue to do that, but my sense is that will stabilize, and we're probably going to be on a pretty good footing there pretty soon if we're not already. As people know, we've had massive power outages, which was expected. I'd say this is probably similar to Hurricanes Irma and Ian in terms of the number of outages. I think we're up to, currently now it's about 3.4 million that are out. I think they've restored about 700,000 since the storm started. So just do the math. You're over 4 million have lost power since the start of this storm. Fortunately, Florida, we pre-staged 50,000 linemen throughout the state of Florida. And so those folks are going to work. And it's not as easy to do when you've just had Hurricane Helene. A lot of these linemen, there's still hundreds of thousands of people without power in North Carolina, Georgia, some of those states. Helene in Florida, we did 2.4 million restorations in record time. That's not the norm. And so finding the linemen, given what they're doing now, we brought them in from as far away as California. But those folks are there. There's assessments being done about what needs to be done. When you have down power lines, that's actually easy for them to do. They just put the pole back up, reconnect it. If their entire system needs a rebuild, that will take a little longer. We don't know that that's the case in many of these spots. I remember in Hurricane Ian, which was stronger than this one, hit Fort Myers Beach, and FPL substation on Fort Myers Beach right there at Ground Zero was fine. They could have had people hooked up to power days later. Just the people's homes couldn't accept it because of the storm surge. So all that is going on, and we're happy to have pre-staged those resources because I think it's really important that we'll be able to do. We're also assessing the need for things like points of distribution. We typically will set up these pods with water, food, tarps, things of that nature. I think we will be doing some pods. A lot of this is based on what the counties ask us for, but I also think you're probably going to see a lot of the stores and gas stations reopen very quickly. At least that's our hope. We're also looking at the damage that was done to the ports in Florida. East Coast, I don't think there was very much, if any. Port of Tampa seems like it's okay. Manatee, that remains to be seen. But bottom line is we got to keep bringing fuel into this state. I know there's a lot on the dock side still that can be brought out. We've got 1.5 million gallons of diesel on hand that we can use for the state and to help replenish. And I think we've got about 1.1 million gallons of regular gasoline just in our arsenal. And then we've also deputized the Florida Highway Patrol to escort the fuel tankers with sirens to be able to get to all the gas stations to get filled. I think you're probably going to be okay on the east coast of Florida. Some of the places in the Tampa Bay area, when there was evacuation, everyone was going to get gas, and some people...
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need. With full business functionality and a design tailored just for you. Customize every element of your website and watch your vision come to life in minutes. Control everything from the biggest tasks to the finest details. Personalized, optimized, ready to go live.
On the backside of this storm, we've had a lot of people have been working very hard. I think, as most of you know, we've been doing this now for 2.5 weeks from the time we declared the state of emergency before Hurricane Helene, and then in the aftermath of Helene, and then we work on Helene for a week in terms of the response and the recovery, and then we got to do another state of emergency for Hurricane Milton, and it's just the way you go. So people have been working 24/7, particularly on the west coast of Florida. We got a lot of first responders that have been working really hard. Kevin and his team, all of our state agencies get mobilized when we have these types of events, and they've been working nonstop. So my hat's off to everybody that's worked hard. Unfortunately, we have the fatalities from this tornado here. We don't have confirmed reports of other fatalities throughout the rest of the state, but we may as the day goes on. My sense is that a lot of the people did leave who were in the evacuation zones. I know we had over 80,000 people staying in shelters. You had massive heavy traffic on the interstates over the last several days leading up to the storm because I think people were deciding, to just get out of Dodge. We also can say that the storm did not produce the worst case scenario in terms of storm surge. If you remember, about 24 hours ago, maybe 36 hours ago, the fear was Category 4, strong 4, going into Tampa Bay, producing about 15 feet of storm surge. That's an area with Pinellas County Peninsula and then the surrounding areas in Hillsborough County that is very low lying, very susceptible to storm surge. That did not end up happening. The storm did weaken before it hit land, and then it did bear further to the east and south of Tampa Bay. So I think a lot of what they had was the wind sucked water out of Tampa Bay. You did have storm surge in Sarasota, Venice, Charlotte Harbor, and all the way down the west coast of Florida, and some significant storm surge, but not to the worst case scenario of what we were looking at. I mean, for example, Helene, we had storm surge in Taylor County up in North Florida that was probably about 20 feet in places like Deacle Beach and Horseshoe Beach. And that is the real deal. I mean, we have examples in American history where you've actually had a lot more than that, 24, 25 feet, Mississippi, Texas, Camille, some of those. But to have 18 to 20, that's a big deal. So doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot of damage. Doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot we're going to have to contend with. But just in terms of what we were prepped for, I think that we probably have an abundance of resources. My sense is we'll probably be able to release a lot of the search and rescue resources that we've had on hand very soon, and then just get back to getting everybody back online with power, making sure the gasoline's flowing and everything. So all in all, everyone's done a good job up to this point. We got a lot more work to do, and I'll let Kevin come in and say a few things.
Thank you, Governor. I think in this situation here, where we're at, the strength of what happened here is organically our state mutual aid system. The very first group that was on hand here was a Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Search and Rescue Team. That's not even officially a part of our state 8-team search and rescue team system. Maybe we want to change that in the future and put them on that. But that Type 3 team, which is self-funded 100% by Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, was the first ones in to this situation, followed up by Miami-Dade Task Force 1, and then Ohio and Virginia Task Force. And again, I think that's just the strength of not just the state emergency response team, the state emergency response plan, but also outside states helping states. Some people were a little critical of the governor sending state assets up to North Carolina, but right here when we needed them, we got all those guys back, but immediately Virginia, Ohio, California, and other states from around the country had their assets right here. So, this is one of those examples. The sheriff was telling us about this when we were walking up. He was very grateful for those assets being in here so quickly. But that's the strength of the State Emergency Response Team, the State Emergency Response Plan, and then the greater Emergency Management Assistance Compact that we pull from. So we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. This is the first day of many, many to come, probably over the next couple of years. Again, it's going to take us a long time to get all the recovery done, but we're not going to let bureaucracy get in the way. We're going to get this done as quickly as we possibly can. So thank you, Governor, for your leadership. Do
you want to maybe just give an update on what we think we're going to get from FEMA for debris removal?
Sure. Yeah. So we're going to start getting back in the debris removal business. And, we're going to supplement where we need to supplement. But we had a really good conversation with Administrator Criswell, who is here in Florida and is actually on her way somewhere in this general direction. But she is working with us on how we could ensure that debris gets picked up quickly. How do we, and the right word is not incentivize it, but if you're in the private sector, it would be how do we incentivize haulers to get stuff picked up faster, bringing in people from around the country to get that done. We're also looking at potentially, again, a mutual aid effort where we may bring in some city and county assets that have the claw trucks and the loader trucks from around the state of Florida and maybe even outside the state of Florida to help us get that stuff picked up. So again, she's very, very helpful on getting those things done, making sure that we got everything that we need. We will be submitting, hopefully by this afternoon, now that we got post-landfall and we got some data, we'll be submitting through the governor's signature a major disaster expedited request so that we could get those federal funds turned on and start looking for reimbursement. But again, we're not going to wait on the feds for reimbursement. We're going to do what we need to do the right thing, get people and Floridians back on their feet. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, so this whole debris, it's just. I mean, you had like in Pinellas, they didn't want to do the debris as fast because they weren't sure about the paperwork and about FEMA reimburse. And it's like, you got to get the debris off. And these storms, because of the way it's done, really incentivizes it to go a lot longer with the debris. And sometimes the debris in these major storms is around for a year. And how ridiculous is that? So what Kevin's doing, and I think the administration wants to work with us, is to let's align these incentives so we can get the job better. You'd think the private sector would do it so much better than government. At least that's what I would think. And yet on this debris after Helene, when we saw how much was there and we knew another storm was coming, we got all our Department of Transportation assets from Florida. We were bringing trucks in from all over the state that are doing their normal duties, and we surged them over to the barrier islands off the Gulf Coast of Florida, and we did like 3,000 truckloads of debris, reduced the debris by 50% in 72 hours. So, and we did round the clock. We had 24/7 shifts going, but that's a sense of urgency. So I just think that, that may be an extreme, like doing 24/7, but I mean, you should be able to get the debris done earlier than that. So I'm hoping that they can do this in a way that's going to make sense, so that the local governments can bring their contractors in and clean up the debris. We'll see what the debris was left on this storm. I don't think we have a real good sense about how much compared to the other. I mean, I think the storm surge overall was not as high as the others, but I also think it probably the winds hit more of the Florida peninsula on this. So I think in terms of tree damage, I think you're going to see a lot of that. And then, of course, we had more tornadoes for Milton than we did for Helene. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But I really think getting a better posture on how they do the debris reimbursements would make a lot of sense, and I think it would move this process along a lot further. And it's also just a morale thing. You get hit with a storm, seeing debris is just a constant reminder that you got hit. When things get picked up, things look nice, people feel a lot better about it. So we got to make sure they get that job done. Okay, do we have any questions?
Yeah, Governor, have you spoken with the White House, anyone there, about the response here?
Yes, I spoke with the president this morning, and Kevin was on the phone with me. We were on, the administrator of FEMA was in the office with us in Tallahassee at the Emergency Operations Center, and he said he wants to be helpful. And so if we have requests, he said send them his way, and he wants to help us get the job done. So I appreciate being able to collaborate across the federal, state, and local governments and work together to put the people first. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think it's, so, you do have these tornadoes, the warnings, how many actually touch down is probably a different one. But I would say what I've seen so far is that St. Lucie had the most tornado damage of anyone I've seen. Is that what your reports?
Yeah, and we know that we had over 120 tornado warnings statewide. It's probably going to be higher than that. All of those tornado confirmations come from your local weather forecasting office. So those individuals that come around and confirm all of those tornadoes. We have 4 meteorologists that said that we had probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 radar indicated tornadoes. All that means that they see a debris signature in the circulation. But again, the weather forecasting offices of the National Weather Service will actually verify those tornadoes.
Excuse me?
Sorry, was that in St. Lucie County alone, the 20 to 25?
No.
Statewide.
Statewide.
Yep.
Hey, Sheriff Pearson, could you please clarify? I know we've got 4 deaths in the Spanish Lakes area. Where was the 5th death in St. Lucie County?
In the same area. As our rescue team is still out there, this is a rescue mission. We're sifting through the debris. They just recently, right before this conference, located another victim, unfortunately. But again, we're going to continue through this. We're so grateful that the governor sent down, this was during the storm, he sent down the National Guard. So while we're all hunkering down, trying to stay safe, these men and women are driving through the storm to get here, and they work throughout the night, and their actions 100% saved lives, saved our lives.
Governor, I know before the storm there was a great concern about the debris from Helene. How much worse did this storm make the debris that was already accumulated?
I think that'll be assessed today. I can tell you, whatever happened, had we not done what we did with that 72-hour project to take every truck in Florida and help these counties and these cities, some of these contractors were doing the debris and then they left and went to North Carolina because they could make more money there. And then others were working like banker's hours. And I'm just thinking to myself, how the hell is that something that's acceptable? And so we came in and we said, not only are we going to send all these assets, it's going to be 24/7. So the first night we go there, and the county, I think it was Pinellas, they didn't have the landfill open 24/7. So our guys cut the locks, and we started doing. And you had all these, not just the state trucks. You had private citizens with their Ford F-250 pickup trucks that were loading debris, massive amounts in. So he said we got to keep it going. Then the next night, there were 2 entrances, and they closed one of the entrances, and there were 300 cars in line. So we somehow rigged that and opened that up. So this is just like, where's the sense of urgency? So it may be that this debris ended up not causing much more damage. But if it did cause more damage, I could tell you, had we not come in and did what we did, you would have had a lot more. And the thing is like I mean, I tell Kevin, I'm like, look, we want to be helpful, and we will be helpful. But you know, the state's job is not to pick up the debris. Like, that's the local community's responsibility. And so this was an extraordinary circumstance where we came in and did it. And I think part of the reason, and I think there was enough debris there that I don't think you could have gotten it all in 2 weeks, realistically. But, I mean, there clearly was not a sense of urgency after the first storm hit. And yes, we knew there may be another one. Then they said, well, just a rainstorm, maybe not, this and that. But then by last weekend, by like last Friday, we were looking at it, like, you know what, this is real. We got to be serious about it. And then we did the executive order on Saturday. So, you know, but I definitely think we help things by doing that. And as of now, I'm not sure about structural damage on any of the roads there. I'm going to go over to Siesta Key after this in Sarasota. That was kind of ground zero of where the surge came in. You know, we just repaired one of the roads from Longboat Key up to Anna Maria. Do you know how that's fared? Have we gotten any reports?
I have not, sir.
So we did emergency repairs on that, got it back open. We'll see. We may have to do some more repairs on that. I think that there may have been some small bridges throughout the state that have some damage. The big bridges we have in the Tampa Bay area, Gandy, Howard Franklin, I know Sunshine Skyway is going to be open if it's not already. The other 2 are open. Courtney Campbell will be open as soon as they move the debris and finish the debris removal. So all being told, you're going to have all those major bridges back open if they're not already.
Governor, do you have any ballpark of how many ongoing rescues there are around the state?
No, because I think it's, you know, we do our rest. So we've got Florida State Guard, Florida Highway Patrol, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and they will do their own rescues by themselves. But then we also have the local outfits. So the Sheriff's Department in Sarasota and Bradenton, police departments, fire departments. Sometimes we do joint operations, but a lot of the times if someone calls 911, they're going. My sense would be, and Kevin can chime in on this, we've probably had less demand for rescues on Milton than we did on Helene. Do you agree?
Yes, sir, I agree. We do have a number of federal and state assets out there doing search and rescue in addition to everything the governor said. The Florida Urban Search and Rescue teams that are associated with fire departments across the state of Florida. All of those are in the fight. They're all out there actively assessing and looking for people right now. They will do a door-to-door, especially in the landfall area, the landfall path. We've got them stretched from here in St. Lucie all the way over to where landfall happened and all the way up to the east coast or northeast coast of Florida. Once we finish all that, so I would literally, to your question, say there's hundreds of rescues ongoing. But to the governor's point, as we were driving in today, I see Sheriff Chronister doing active rescues in Hillsborough County. I see active rescues going on in Pinellas County, and so on. So they're going on organically at the local level, at the state level, and then the federal teams that are here supplementing our state ongoing response are also here.
But I would say, I think for Helene, I think the first 24 to 36 hours, I think there were statewide, local, state combined, there were probably thousands of rescues. My sense would be we're probably in the hundreds of rescues statewide so far. But you know, I think you're going to see, because we had more inland flooding, you're going to see some floods happen in the ensuing days, and you may have to have some people go in and do some rescues there. So I think you may see it be ongoing.
Can we have an update from the federal level? I've kept Congressman Mass update us on what's going on federally.
As Governor spoke about, FEMA Administrator Creswell is headed here on the ground. And the only thing I would add to it, Governor's done a fantastic job just being an air traffic control tower for all of this, making sure the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. From the Governor's office to the Sheriff's Department across the state, state representatives, state senators, Florida Highway Patrol, National Guard, FDLE, Florida Power and Light, everybody made sure they could do every ounce of prevention, and they're working with FEMA. That's the update from the federal side. They're all working with FEMA.
And just so I think the notice for this said that Administrator FEMA was going to be here. That was the intention, but I think her plane got diverted over to Sarasota. So I think she's going to be at our Sarasota briefing when we do that later today. Yes, sir.
What damage have you assessed in western St. Lucie County over by unincorporated farmland?
Yeah.
So the unincorporated farmland is agricultural. We haven't had any really reports of structural damages because it's just that, agricultural. Right now we're focusing on rescue missions, and that area is to that half square mile radius there in northern Fort Pierce that we're doing the active rescues in. Everybody else is accounted for, although there's damage throughout the county. The agricultural area, again, is just that, agricultural area. So we'll get to that. We're just prioritizing things right now. It's still an active rescue mission.
To clarify, were the 5 deaths here in St. Lucie all from the tornado?
Yes, we're going to attribute those deaths to that specific area that we're doing active rescues in. Again, we're focusing on trying to rescue as many people as we can with the National Guard, with the SARS teams in here, and the amazing men and women of the Sheriff's Office and Fire Rescue. We were able to get 25 people out of there and get them in a safe area. But again, the work's not over. They worked through this storm. They worked before the storm, during the storm, and they're going to continue to work until we make sure that anybody there that needs to be rescued will be rescued.
Obviously, with every hurricane, tornadoes are a concern, but it seems like the story of Hurricane Milton really is all of the tornadoes. Have you ever seen something of this magnitude, just as far as the number of tornadoes and the amount of damage they did?
Well, I mean, every hurricane we have a lot of tornadoes spun off. I think we may have had more tornado warnings on this one than the typical hurricane, I would think. But to see what happened here, sadly, that is not something that's uncommon. These tornadoes, I mean, when Mother Nature, I mean, this is just churning. Things churn off these weather systems, and it's just devastating. And so this is unfortunately something that is kind of normal with the big storm. We probably had more warnings than we would with normal storms, but and especially the ones that come across the peninsula like this, you could get it. I mean, you've got east coast of Florida, Palm Beach, St. Lucie, a bunch of stuff happened over here, and you were probably hundreds of miles away from the eye of the storm at the time those tornadoes were spun off. But that is just that is to be expected to a certain extent.
It's not due to global warming?
Tornadoes?
Yeah, it's increasing tornadoes.
I think you could go back and find tornadoes for all of human history for sure, and especially Florida. How does this storm rate in kind of the history of storms? I think it hit with a barometric pressure of what was it, about 950 millibars when it hit, which I think if you go back to 1851, there's probably been 27 hurricanes that have had lower so the lower the barometric pressure, the stronger it is. I think there have been about 27 hurricanes that have had lower barometric pressure on landfall than Milton did, and of those, 17 occurred, I think, prior to 1960. And the most powerful hurricane on record since the 1850s in the state of Florida occurred in the 1930s, the Labor Day hurricane. Barometric pressure on that was 892 millibars. It totally wiped out the Keys. We've never seen anything like it, and that remains head and shoulders above any powerful hurricane that we've ever had in the state of Florida. The most deadly hurricane we've ever had was in 1928, the Okeechobee hurricane, killed over 4,000 people. Fortunately, we aren't going to have anything close to that on this hurricane, but even ones like Ian, where you had, wasn't even close to that. So I just think people should put this in perspective. They try to take different things that happen with tropical weather and act like it's something. There's nothing new under the sun. This is something that the state has dealt with for its entire history, and it's something that we'll continue to deal with. I think what's changed is we've got 23 million people. A storm that hits is likely to hit more people and property than it would have 100 years ago, and so the potential for that damage has grown. But what's also changed is our ability to do the prevention, to pre-stage the assets. I mean, we never did the pre-staging of power assets until I became governor. Now people expect that, but that wasn't what was done in the past. That's why people would be out with power for 3 weeks when we'd have hurricanes. We thought that that's not good. Now we have to pay to get these guys to come in, but my view is the quicker you get everyone hooked up, the better off the economy is going to be anyway. So why don't we just do that? Having the different search and rescue, having a state guard, all these different things are just bringing different tools to the fight, and it allows us to respond more effectively. So if we had the tools that we had in 1928 to fight an Ian or to fight some of these, you would have had higher death tolls. There's no question about that.
Speaking of history, sir, how many storms formed as rapidly as they have between Helena and Milton?
Oh, I mean, I think most people remember 2004, right? Where we had seemed like you had them every other week in 2004. Then there's also time period. We had from 2006 to 16, we had no hurricanes.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running. That's why at Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
In terms of the season.
Yeah, Governor, a lot of folks, particularly quite a few who trust you and look to you for information, are possibly engaging in some misinformation about some entity controlling the weather. Can you take this opportunity to denounce that misinformation and set the record straight for folks who believe someone is controlling the weather?
Look, if I could control the weather, I would do 78 and sunny year round. Now we get that a lot in Florida, coming up in the months, but there would be no reason to ever do. So look, and this is on both sides. You kind of have some people think government can do this, and then others think it's all because of fossil fuels. The reality is what we see. There's precedent for all this in history. Like, it is hurricane season. You are going to have tropical weather. We hope that, a lot of the tropical weather are fish storms out in the Atlantic that never impact us. The reality is anything that gets in the Gulf of Mexico, it's got to hit something. Maybe it hits Mexico, maybe it hits Louisiana, but Florida's one, especially if it's when they bend east. We're the ones that are going to do. So like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. These are natural occurrences. We will deal with tropical weather for as long as we're Floridians.
What about the role of carbon emissions in propagating said storms?
Well, I've already addressed the historical record of the storms in Florida. Like I said, we've our biggest storm, our strongest storm by far, remains the Labor Day from the 1930s. All right, we're going to go to Sarasota after this. We're going to go inspect the damage there, see what the needs are. I appreciate what the sheriff and his team are doing to help the citizens here. We are very, very saddened to see a tornado inflict such serious damage, including loss of life. These are things that are very, very tough to withstand. You don't get a lot of warning on them, and they're very, very devastating. And tragically, to lose 5 really, really is tough for this community. So our hearts go out to everybody who's been affected by this, and we're happy to have been supportive of the rescue efforts, and we'll continue to be supportive going forward.
Thanks.
To the left, this way.
Sheriff, hey, are there still people unaccounted for?